Getting back to that comment, we don't have a strategy yet. We know that the President was talking about a strategy for ISIS in Syria. But having said that, would he like to have that one back?
Well, Jim, I want to clarify one thing, what you described. The President was talking specifically about military options for countering ISIS in Syria. There are a number of things that we've already done as it relates to the broader situation in Syria, to confront some of the challenges there. The United States, as we've discussed many times in this room, is the largest single donor of humanitarian aid to Syria in terms of dealing with the terrible humanitarian situation that has been caused by the violence in Syria. We've seen significant numbers, millions of people who've been displaced by the violence there. The United States has been engaged in an effort to support the moderate Syrian opposition. There are a range of ways in which that support is provided. There's also some diplomatic support that's been provided to them. So there already has been some work underway in Syria to try to address some of the challenges there. But the President was candid about the fact that the Pentagon is still reviewing options that may be available to him, military options that may be available to him, to counter ISIL militarily in Syria.
But when you're the President, words matter. And just getting back to that first question, does he wish he had articulated that sentiment differently?
Well, Jim, he was asked a very specific question, and he was asked a question about.
Right. I mean.
Well, he was. But let me finish this. This is important. He was asked a very specific question about whether or not the President would seek a congressional authorization before ordering any sort of military action in Syria. And the point the President made was that that's putting the cart before the horse. The President hasn't yet laid out a specific plan for military action in Syria. And the reason for that is simply that the Pentagon is still developing that plan, and he's still reviewing them. And it would be putting the cart before the horse to talk about what sort of congressional authorization would be required for a plan that hasn't even been put in place yet.
I don't mean to belabor it, but the fact that you came out so quickly and tried to explain what the President had to say suggests that that what he said was not what he intended to say. Or are you saying that just the rest of us took it the wrong way?
Well, I think what I was... Yeah, I do know what you mean. The reaction that we had at the White House yesterday was not in response to the President's comments. It's in response to the way it was being reported. And I don't mean that to sound as a criticism of you all doing your jobs. You all have an important job to do. But we do believe that it's important for people, both you and your readers and viewers, to understand what message the President was trying to communicate and what strategy he has already laid out for confronting ISIL and what decisions remain to be made as it relates to military options that are available to him in Syria. So, again, that is not a critique of the media. It's just an observation that we didn't listen to the President's news conference and go formulate a strategy for responding. We listened to the President's news conference, watched your reporting, and recognized that if we wanted people to have a very clear understanding of what the President was trying to communicate, that we needed to engage you directly to do that. And that's what we tried to do.
And getting back to Prime Minister Cameron's comments, he said that this is not some foreign conflict thousands of miles from home. He seemed to take a tougher tone with respect to ISIS than the President did yesterday. And a lot of people observed that the President's comments yesterday were not really in line or in sync with the urgency expressed by Secretary Hagel, Joint Chiefs Chairman Dempsey, who described it as it's beyond anything we've ever seen, talking about ISIS in Syria, that you can't really take care of the ISIS problem without dealing with Syria. What do you make of that? Is the President on the same page as his cabinet when it comes to dealing with ISIS?
Well, I think the more important observation, Jim, is that the cabinet is on the same page as the Commander-in-Chief. And I am fully confident that that's the case.
There's no debate inside the situation when it comes to striking ISIS immediately in Syria?
I don't think debate is the way that I would describe it. I mean, I'm not going to be in a position of providing a detailed readout of a private meeting between the President and his National Security Council. But you've had the opportunity now to observe the President's leadership style, and you recognize that the President is interested in hearing the unvarnished assessment of his senior advisors. That's true when he's talking to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff or the Secretary of Defense about our military strategy. It's also true when he's talking to his press secretary about our political strategy, communication strategy. So the president is interested in eliciting the unvarnished opinion of everybody that's sitting around the table. And it wouldn't be particularly helpful to the President of the United States if everybody sitting around the table had exactly the same opinion or exactly the same perspective on this challenge. So the President, again, I'm not reading out the meeting, but I am in a position to convey to you that the President is determined to get the unvarnished assessment of the professionals who surround the table with him as he makes important decisions. But I have no doubt, and if you do, then you should go ask each one of them about whether or not they're on the same page as the Commander-in-Chief.